comes with an extraordinarily well-insulated...
Holy shit! Holy shit! Shit!
Journal entry, September 21, 2001. I have nothing written on September 11, 2001. Had I kept a journal of that day, I would have written on the train. Had it been a normal day, I saw the first plane hit the tower as I was turning off the Today Show to drive the short ride down Route 9D to Cold Spring, where I planned to park and train it into Manhattan to vote. New York. It took everything for me to get there that morning. I saw the first plane hit on TV before 9 a.m., and then grabbed my cameras and ran to the subway. I remember shaking on the subway and then running down Broadway. I couldn't understand why both towers were burning because I had been in the subway when the second plane hit. It's difficult to reflect on the last 14 years without thinking about 9/11. This day affected so many lives. After dropping off my son at school, I came home, made a cup of coffee, and turned on the TV. I remember it being a picture-perfect fall morning. The sun shone in all its brilliance, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky. No one knew that something terrible was going to happen. When I saw the first plane hit the first tower, I thought that this was just a terrible accident. As I was still digesting this, the next plane came crashing into the next tower. Surely this could not be another accident. I, like everyone else, seemed to be stuck in a state of confusion. It took about 2 minutes before it dawned on people that perhaps America was under attack. Searched in frustration for the keys, and all I happened to walk by the huge TV screen in the office. I could not believe my eyes. I saw the first plane hit the Twin Towers. A few minutes later, the second plane hit the next tower, and then the announcement came about the Pentagon being bombed, as well. When I looked, like most Americans, I was profoundly affected by the events of September 11th. In the week of September 10, 2001, I was attending a specialized course in intelligence analysis in Northern Virginia. Like many, I can remember exactly what I was doing that Tuesday morning when I saw the first plane hit the World Trade Center and how I felt as the horror continued to unfold throughout the day. As I drove back to Richmond, Virginia that afternoon, I saw the smoke rise up over the Beltway from the fire at the Pentagon, which was still burning. Those of us working in the public safety community were inundated with information over the next several days, some of it reliable, much of it not. Like many agencies, we were. The Army, Navy, and Air Force. It never crosses in my mind that the allegedly terrorist groups of Osama bin Laden could easily attack the World Trade Center buildings. I was at the office in Oslo Embassy of Indonesia when I saw the first plane hit World Trade Center. The first glance of the attack, I thought it was talking movies of Rambo, because on that moment I was deeply involved in making a draft of a report. After following from September up till today, my conclusion, this event of the 11th of September 2001 is the combined strategy of Second World War and postmodern strategy.
I'd taken my father-in-law to the eye doctor for an examination, so I was sitting in the waiting room watching television while he was getting examined. And that's when I saw the first plane hit the tower in New York. And immediately that said to me that we as an agency had failed to give warning of this terrorist attack.
We turned on the TV and we immediately saw what was going on. We saw the footage of the plane hitting the first building, the first World Trade Center building, and it was shocking. Immediately we thought that the plane must have been piloted by a person who had suffered some sort of cardiac arrest or made some grave error. And as we watched, then we saw the second plane hit and realized that there was no mistake. Of course, that put the personal touch to the birth of our son that day. All no mistake. Immediately we thought that the plane, early in watching the news, and what he said was, "Turn on the TV, something's happened." And we turned on the TV and we immediately saw what was going on. We saw the footage of the plane hitting the first building, the first World Trade Center building, and it was shocking. Immediately we thought that the plane must have been piloted by a person who had suffered some sort of cardiac arrest or made some grave error. And as we watched, then we saw the second plane hit and realized that there was no mistake.
I'm an emergency room physician. I work in the Bronx, and I was doing the overnight shift on September 10th, 2001. And I remember it was a pretty good night in the Bronx. It was kind of quiet, and I couldn't complain. I remember going to a conference the next morning, and it was like the usual politics back and forth and stuff. And after that conference, I remember walking out, and we all walked past a patient waiting room where there was a TV set up, and that's when I saw the first plane going into the World Trade Center as they were replaying it as it happened. And right then and there, as we were watching the second plane hit.
Norris. I live in the Washington, D.C. area. On the morning of September 11th, I was working at the office of the Secretary of Transportation. Shortly before 9 o'clock, I saw an image on television of what appeared to be the Today Show filming a plane going into a building. I walked into the Chief of Staff's office, and I advised him, since the Department of Transportation also has the Federal Aviation Administration under them. He immediately went into the Secretary's office, where the Secretary was having breakfast with the Belgian Transport Minister, and advised him that a plane had apparently hit the World Trade Center. Shortly thereafter, we began to get calls from various airlines, as well as from the FAA, discussing with us that there were several incidents that were going on simultaneously.
15 other people in the room when we were watching CNN, and they showed the first plane, a replay of the first plane hitting. And then they showed the second plane hitting. So we stood there and watched that for several minutes, and we were just all in shock. And we started filtering out of the office and went back to our cubicle area.
I had taken my father-in-law to the eye doctor for an examination, so I was sitting in the waiting room watching television while he was getting examined. And that's when I saw the first plane hit the tower in New York. And immediately that said to me that we as an agency had failed to give warning of this terrorist attack.
I was sitting outside the classroom waiting to go in, and I saw an airplane hit the tower of a TV. The TV was obviously on, and I used to fly myself, and I said, well, there's one terrible pilot. And it said it must have been a horrible accident. But I was whisked off there. I didn't have much time to think about it.
Really early morning patients for barium enemas and upper GIs, where we drink the barium and we look at their intestines. And then after these were done in the morning, one of the soldiers, who was a more senior soldier, specialist, I believe, he was out in the lobby, and he came out into the back room where we all were, and he said, "Holy shit, I just saw a plane crash into one of the Twin Towers." And three of us were like, "Really? That's really strange." And so we walked out to the front desk.
He'd seen it on some television?
He saw it on the hospital TV, right at the lobby,
okay,
where you come in and check in for your x-rays. And we stood there, me and him and two other soldiers, and we looked at the TV, and you could see the smoke coming out of the building, and at that moment I saw the next plane coming crash into the other tower. So now both towers were hit. And we all were just absolutely silent. We knew what this meant. This was intentional.
Okay, but what you're saying here is that he saw the first plane hit captured on a live television camera somehow.
Yes.
Which has never been acknowledged in the public domain.
Yes.
So he saw the first plane crash, and then he came in to tell that to you.
Mm-hmm. The department, it was just a big hallway, and he just saw this, and then he walked back, and there was maybe 6 or 7 of us standing there, and he said, "Holy shit, there's a plane just crashed into the tower."
Yeah.
And a few of us were like, "What, really?" And we went to see for ourselves, and we were standing there watching this building on fire.
One building on fire?
Yes, and as we stood there, we saw the second plane come, and then all of us, I think there was like 4 of us standing there at the moment. 1, 2, me, him, 2 or 3 other people, 2 other people. It's hard to remember. Yes, and we stood there and said, "Holy shit, that wasn't an accident. Something's happening." And just as, I also have gone over this in my head many times and thought, well, maybe a video camera, maybe he didn't see the plane actually crash in. Well, maybe a video camera, maybe he didn't see the plane actually crash in. Maybe the video camera was focusing in on the tower burning or whatever, but I don't know. He said he saw it crashing in.
Yeah.
So,
well, this is also,
and I didn't doubt this because I was so enclosed in the base and the life on the base that you don't see TV from the outside. It just.
But you don't know what channel this was. This was some internal military hospital channel. Yeah,
and they do have regular channels like CNN or NBC or something, but as far as I know, we're not allowed to change it. We had no control over this. The TV was set. So.
And do you remember, was there any commentary, like any newscaster saying, "Oh my God," or it was just a picture?
It's just the picture. And there wasn't any news, there wasn't anybody running. I mean, as far as I remember, and we didn't stay long at the TV, because it happened almost immediately that over the loudspeaker, following this, I would say within, 10 minutes, somebody came over the loudspeaker, maybe even less than 10 minutes, for soldiers to report and get their weapons.
WNEW radio station was, in my opinion, making light of the situation. They were watching replays of the impact on TV and giving a play-by-play in their broadcast, as if it was a sporting event of some kind. Since everyone was freaking out and Francis and Sabrina were crying, I decided that I'd get up and change the station. On my way to work, I heard on the radio that someone had just rode a plane into the World Trade Center. It was Craig Carton on WNEW-FM. He seemed to think it was a small private plane. When the second plane hit, I knew it was much more serious. It was September 11th, 8:30 a.m. My workday was about to commence. As always, I start my day after a morning workout. Little did I know what was about to occur, however, and I wasn't shocked at all. After watching the replay of the first plane crashing into the WTC, I knew it was a terrorist strike. When the second plane entered the television screen, it confirmed my gut feelings. As I drew nearer, I noticed a replay of the first plane flying into the tower. Initially, I thought it was a small single-engine aircraft. However, upon further examination, it dawned on me that this was no ordinary plane. It was a sizable jetliner that had plunged into the side of the tallest skyscraper in Manhattan, New York. Transfixed by the scene, my coworkers and I stood in awe as the horrific scene unfolded before us. Not long after, the second plane hit the adjoining tower, and we knew for certain that the great United States of America was under attack. She told me to turn on the news to see what was happening. I saw the replay of the first plane hitting the North Tower. At first I thought it was a horrible accident, then the second plane hit the South Tower. I remember sitting in my living room with my mom on the phone, gasping in horror as we realized this was a deliberate attack. Well, there were a number of emotions all of us had. My room was filled with people, because I had the only television set on this whole floor at my law firm. We saw a replay of the first plane striking. And then we saw the second plane striking, live, and there were screams of agony and tears. We didn't know how many people ultimately would be killed, approximately 3,000. And we were just overwhelmed. But we knew America would stand up and respond.